Tom, and today we're looking at the thoracic spine. So I thought this was really important for a couple of reasons. I myself have a thoracic spine, so we all have one, but my thoracic spine over the years has definitely changed in its mobility, in its ability. And if I think of lifestyle then and what I was doing and the amount of ballet and contemporary and Spanish and jazz dancing I was doing versus now where we're all online, I have Of-CourseOnline, which means I have to be behind a PC quite a bit because we're either editing courses for our members or we're busy creating all of the content. I'm writing things like this on a constant basis. I've even got those blue light glasses now because I realize when I'm working on the computer at night, it definitely has an effect on your sleeping patterns. But what effect does this type of lifestyle have on our thoracic spines? And not only that, can we put all of our clients into the same thoracic spine box? And that being the literature that you read about thoracic spines, are you able to apply it to all of your clients? And working with thousands of people over 22 years, being so invested in learning anatomy, conducting studies, looking at EMG results, conducting EMG results, working with the biodex, and having a look to see what can we do differently and how can we look at our clients and assess their spines, and today the thoracic spine, a little bit differently. So why are we doing these videos for you? Because I really want you to cancel out the 22 years that we've been working on this, and I just want to jumpstart you to move ahead and to eliminate all of that doubt where you're looking at your client going, that's strange, I don't know why you're feeling that. I have no idea. Come on, your abs are weak, that's why you can't come up. Or, I'm not sure why they're giving me that feedback. I've got to try and figure this out. Or why would they be so restricted? They're so flexible in their hamstrings. Why would they be so restricted in their thoracic spine? Or, geez, a kyphotic posture, but her spine is actually quite mobile. So I want to be able to give you the tools and have loads of tools in your toolbox that you can just open it and go, I'll have the thoracic spine today, and I'll do scapular stability, and I'll look at the cervical spine. And I know that these three tools are going to give me a powerful outlook on how I can assess this differently. And that's really what I would love for you. It's been my passion. For 22 years, I remember sitting in my first studio and all of these thoughts coming into my head. And at that point, I already was starting to understand things and study it. And I thought, I wonder how, because in those days, I think we had just gotten emails and the computers were about this size. How am I going to get this message to everybody that feels exactly the same way I do? How am I going to get the message to as many people as I can without hopping on a plane and going there? And then, boom, the internet happened. And then Facebook happened, and then we were all in lockdown, and I was able to share so much of this information with so many of our members, and the feedback that we were getting was phenomenal, and we were so grateful. And then we knew we have actually started achieving what we had set out to do, and that is to give you more value than what you're always spending all over the place on all various courses. We want to give you excellent value so that you don't sit in the course like this, because I've done that. Oh my word. Please just give me one thing today that is new for me, because I need cool presentation. I need you to explain it to me better. Don't just tell me it is what it is. I need more, and that's why we're doing this. So let's have a look. Thoracic spine screams for release and strength, and I've broken it down for you again. And I must say, I'm thoroughly enjoying writing these little documents, because I think it's like, if you had to have all of them and you put them in a file, you'd have an amazing toolbox to yourself. And every single time I do something like this, there is always something on Of-CourseOnline that takes even this information further. It takes it even further, where we're looking at, okay, so we did thoracic spine, but what about posterior bulging discs? What about spondylolisthesis? What about spinal fusions? How can I get my clients to really do segmental extension rather than that one movement extension. And today we want our clients to be able to isolate the thoracic spine, which is why we make reference to the spinal isolation, restriction, and rehabilitation course. Because when we're fixing postures, we're thinking extend the spine, but this might already be extended and we want them to extend, but they don't have the ability to move the thoracic spine. So we have to start saying to the thoracic spine that you have the ability to move to neutral, because you're always like this. And then I'm going to take you beyond neutral, but I'm not going to punch you and get you there. I'm going to wean you into it, and that's what we're looking at today. So it says there, our vitality can be gauged by our ability to move freely and effortlessly. How I do this sometimes. How many times you pick something up and go, ugh, or you get up off the floor and you're like, ugh. I feel like that today because I did quads on the Pilates under chairs today. So I did feel like that going up and down the stairs. But we want our movements to be effortless and free. It's not all about strength training, stretch, stretch. We really want our bodies to have that free movement, and we go a lot into that with the shoulder work because we're always tending to want to give exercises and we want to strengthen, and it's super important. You're going to see that today, but it's also really important that we can allow our bodies to be free. And the reason we want it to be free is because then we know we are moving tension-free, stress-free. And the more we stress, the more it comes up here. There's so much that I read now where people are saying, pain cannot be caused by this, and pain cannot be caused by this. And I'm telling you that I have no pain. I've never suffered of pain. I don't have any emotional issues that I need to have a look at. I am telling you for a fact, and I am not stupid, and I have a mind-body connection. When I sit behind my PC for an extended period of time, writing these and creating this type of content, I am in pain in my upper thoracic spine and in my neck. And I know I need to change the position, and it alleviates immediately. When I was pregnant and you tend to flex your thoracic spine more, it was painful. On a scale of 1 to 10, let's make it a 4, okay? Or a 3, maybe sometimes a 5. But when I lay there and I actually lay on my side in thoracic extension, it disappeared. So when we're looking at pain on individuals, please don't just say, well, this is what the research says, so that cannot apply to you. Because that's like looking at postures. That's saying everybody has to fit into these boxes because these are the postures we've identified. Each individual is different. They have a different background, different personality, different mindset, different attitude, and sometimes that discomfort comes from what they are doing at that point. So I can talk forever. Let's keep going. Right. So looking at the aging effects on the spine, we need the ability to maintain a neutral thoracic spine for as long as we live. My one client the other day had a bit of an epiphany where I said to him, you know what? You don't have to be like this the whole time. You're going to move like this. Sometimes you're going to work and you're going to collapse. If you say to somebody that you have to be like this all the time, this is what you need to focus on. Be aware of it. It's just a goal that you're setting, which is unachievable for 99% of the population. I said to him, if you have a balance between this and this, you're already heading towards a positive result. But when your scale has tilted to this, that's when it becomes difficult and all kinds of things start kicking in. So it says here, what is the thoracic spine's resting position? So we're looking at two things. Look at your thoracic spine, you know what that curve should be, but is everybody's curve like that? And if your curve is not a good thoracic curve and it's flatter, and when you flex forward, you don't have that flexion in your spine, but when you're flexing, you also don't feel that there's a stretch in your spine. Is there something wrong with you? Does that instructor have to say, we're going to have to work in that curve? You have to have that curve. That book that I read said that curve has to be there. When you take those spines that aren't flexible into flexion and you force them and there is no feedback of any muscular stretch, you're going to hurt them because that is their spine. Whether it comes from grandpa, great-grandfather, great-great-grandfather, it came from somewhere. If they have no pain and they're not complaining of any neck or shoulders, then you're not going to force a spine that is structurally not able to flex. You're not going to force it to get the amount of flexion that the book says. The thoracic spine can either be stuck in kyphosis, in other words, it cannot get the mobility, or it is, as it says there, an unrestricted flexion. In other words, that's me, sitting like this, chatting to my friends, and then I'm able to do that when I want to. I'm able to open my chest and rotate. So I have the ability to actually move the spine. The problem with the restricted flexion is our shoulders and our neck, so the glenohumeral joint and the cervical spine and the thoracic spine have muscles that interlink those three areas. So when you are stuck here, you must know that there is going to be an imbalance of how the muscles around those joints are working. And you'll see in the guide, I said to you, it's like 3 peas in a pod. You want successful mobility and stability of thoracic spine, glenohumeral joint, and the cervical spine. They have to work together. If I'm dropping forward and I'm stuck here, there's a possibility this is tight, this is poking forward, there's tension here, elevation, levator scap, upper trapezius, rhomboid minor, which restricts serratus anterior from pulling that scapula around. Because if I want to pull that scapula around, it has to pull down, but it can't because this is pulling it up. So I can't get that natural scapular glide. So now my thoracic spine is not only affecting the muscles of the upper back, it is now also affecting my functional shoulder movement. And this is how it just snowballs. And this is why understanding anatomy is so exciting. Because when you start learning it in this way, and you watch your clients move, and they're asking you questions, you're like, I just put that puzzle piece together, and I'm going to tell you about it right now. And you just feel like you have that purpose, and you're intelligent in the information that you're giving them. And we all want to feel a little bit clever. Right, so that is the restricted flexion versus the natural or the unrestricted flexion. When you are stuck in that kyphosis, it becomes really difficult. So I want to show you here, this is how I start them off. So we know the foam roller, but that's hard. That's like, and you get different densities, and some of them are torture. So I love the towel because they all have it at home, and this is something that they can do every single night. And when I read some of the stuff where it says stretching, it doesn't improve that much. I actually have a family member now, and I'm going to show you with a pec stretch just now. When they were lying on the foam roller, their arms were like completely off the floor. There was no way it was going on. Now, so surprised, lying there like this. Chest is open, neck is in good alignment, there's no ribs popping. So it will improve, but what improves it is consistency. So you can decide on how big the towel is. This is just like a hand towel that I've rolled up like that. And you're going to take that hand towel. The placement is super important. Don't do lower thoracic. It's just slightly above lower thoracic, maybe just under the shoulder blades that you want to place that towel. There's 2 places that you can put your arms. You can either have them resting their arms over their chest like this, because that's going to just give them, I'm going to move this up slightly, that's going to give them a gentle release, so they'll be there. And then they're just slowly going to release over. And we're not going to come up and down because then we work neck and we're working abs, and that's not why we're doing this. From there, you can either have them relax their arms out to the side, because now we're opening the chest out. Or I like to have bent elbows and just rest the arms above the head, because I take the scapula and I pull it out to the side and I pull it away from the thoracic spine. So I'm creating space for the thoracic spine. Obviously, when they're lying here, deep inhale, chin is in. Allow the ribcage to open for now. Exhale, blowing it all out, and now you want the ribcage to close. And the reason you want it to close is you've got the heavy head on this side, and you've got the ribcage pushing down on that side, and it's just creating that little tension over the thoracic spine to say, just want you to arch a little bit in that area. So this is one of them where we just get them to totally relax like that on the towel. Now, somebody who has the flexibility might not need this. I love doing it anyway, even if I have the flexibility, especially if I find myself sitting behind the computer for too long. Then we build it up. We say, okay, that was fantastic. It's nice and soft, it's squidgy, I didn't like dig into your muscles. Then you take the ball, you've all seen this, but let's do it a bit differently. So we're going to place it on that same spot. And they do this at home as well. Interlace the fingers, rest your head in your hands. Elbows 30 degrees scapular line, because now the scapula comes out to the side. And you don't have this happening, scrunching towards the thoracic spine, and you actually want to open that thoracic spine and expose it to be able to get the extension. So you're over there, resting your head in your hands, and this in itself is quite a mind thing for them to switch off there, because your arms can hold your head up here. And they're just going to inhale over. Keep the hands behind the head, because this just makes that arch a little bit less. If you see they have the flexibility, move it away and again rest the arms above the head. They're going to do their breathing over here. When they get that sorted, you're then going to start circling the thoracic spine. So now we're saying, let's do a bit of rotation. Let's do a little bit of mobilization. And obviously we're looking that the pelvis isn't dancing all over the place, but it's just moving in its natural movement. So you don't have to think of stickmen. We're trying to get them away from being stickmen with this. And then holding that. Now here's one of my favorites. So if you've done the shoulder stability wow factor course and Of-CourseOnline, you would have learned about the brace triangle. And that is getting that thoracic spine set for your scapular stability. And this is where we start. And when you've got the ball, they have that sensation of the muscles on the ball. So your head is resting on your hands. You're going to inhale there. As you exhale, close the rib cage and press your head into the mat with your chin in. And there you've activated into your thoracic extensors. And deep inhale. And exhale. Obviously, if your client can't get to this range, you've got a cushion underneath their hands over here, or a little pad, and then release. You're then going to rotate over with your spine. Inhale. Exhale, press the head in. And now we're getting that right-hand side beautifully. Bring it to the center, rotating to the other side, pressing the head in. Oh, it feels amazing. And bringing it to the center, and slowly bringing it up. So now you're like, great, we did another soft one. Now I've got another amazing one. And they can do this at home as well, or when you're teaching them online. So one of my favorites, pelvic curl, feet up against a wall or the bars, feet higher than your knees, because when you go up, you want it to end at 90. And now what we're looking for is arms over here. So you don't have to have dead straight arms. If they can't do this, then allow them to do this. So what this does is it allows the thoracic spine to stay anchored on the mat as they articulate their spine. And if you don't believe me, you can try and do the pelvic curl here and you'll be like, oh yeah, no, that's quite nice for my thoracic spine. And then when you do this, because I've taken the shoulder blade away from that thoracic spine and I roll up, you'll be like, ooh, wow, that feels good. Didn't realize that was going to feel so good. Dropping the chin in, so I do this with a lot of my clients, especially when I'm teaching scapular stability, and then curving down. So when we're doing shoulder blades, we're always looking at the thoracic spine. So this is really amazing for that release. You're going to then take this leg, cross it over that one, and roll up, getting on that left side, and gently rolling down. Awesome, I've got a nice tight QL on my left, so that felt really good for my QL as well. Crossing this one over, tucking, rolling up on that side, and then gently lowering it down. You can then gently hook your feet, keep them there, and just slowly take it over. And this one, and slowly take it over. When you're rolling up here, play with your pelvis a bit, because that's creating that rotation. And you might even get a bit of a neural sensation just to get that rotation. But look here, this is anchored, which means I've got an anchored point. And if I'm doing this, something must be rotating. And that's my spine. It's busy rotating. And then slowly bringing it all the way down. Magic. So that's how we start mobilizing the spine. And then obviously when you see, wow, we've done all of that now feel how good this feels. And they're like, oh, I could never do this. Look at that, that range is so much better. And now they can handle a bit more of a forced range with a foam roller because you've already warmed up the muscles to start releasing. So you're not taking this tense muscle and sticking it on a foam roller and trying to mobilize it. So here you're already loosening, you've already loosened up the thoracic spine, and now you're just bringing this into the equation. So that's amazing. Right, so there's some ideas that you can do for mobilization of the thoracic spine. Then it says there, what is the flexibility of the abdominals? So this is important. So sometimes you're like, tightness. Do you know how tight people are in their abs? They are just not able to do that. When they do that, they're like, oh my word, and they look like this because it's just too intense. So you just move the arms forward. We stop them over here. And we're just gently going to open the elbows out just for a good scapular position over there. And I want them to hang their back down a bit. So normally we don't do that, but we want them to hang their back. You're going to inhale, open the chest. Take this arm, drop through, bring it back. Opening the chest, taking the arm, dropping through, and you'll see I don't have my hands too close to me. I could go there if I wanted to, but hardly anybody can do that, so it's far away. And dropping it through and bringing it back. And gently dropping it through and bringing it back. Also, just to bring that mobility in with the flexibility, to increase the flexibility of the abdominals. Whenever we work abs, we are always working it from neutral to flexion to full flexion. But we hardly ever work it, at least most people. I love working it like this. In fact, I did it this morning with my one client. Hands behind your head, and you're going to relax all the way over. So there. But not immediately. We've done all of that mobility stuff. Now your back can be happy if it goes over something like this. You can even have this ball here and rest your head back on the ball. So I stretch the abdominals and then I work them. And then I stretch them, and you're going to feel they work so much more because you're taking them from their eccentric position to their concentric position, and that's exactly what they want. Right. So it says there, what is the ability of the thoracic spine to extend and rotate? So we have about 30 degrees of rotation of the spine, and we really don't do enough rotation of the spine. So one thing that I love to do as well is in this position here, you're going to drop into the shoulders completely. You're then going to roll the shoulders back, press the chest out. So there's my extension. The lumbar is extending, it don't matter because the thoracic is also extending. If they're tight in their biceps, pecs, anterior deltoids, have their arms go further out to the side. From here, you're going to release this arm. You're going to place this elbow down, and you're going to get that rotation in the thoracic spine. I can collapse here. I still have that, let's call it grace, for lack of a better word, instead of a thumb. So up and over, and then recovering it back up. This one going up and over to get that spinal rotation, and then gently bringing it up. So that's amazing to get that rotation in your spine with that extension, and at the same time, you're opening the chest out for those clients who need it. Really, really important is if somebody is standing like this, it doesn't mean that they are tight. It could mean that this is just their natural position, because if you saw me and you assessed me, you'd say, Tanya, we need to stretch your pecs. But when I do this one just now, you're going to say, oh no, sorry, I was wrong. Why was I wrong? So we're going to get to that as well. Okay, so it says here, this is, well, where is it? It is one thing to mobilize the thoracic spine, but many clients are not able to fully extend their spine due to tight abdominals. This is purely because they never do any functional movements that actually allow them to stretch their abdominals. And when we are tight in this kyphosis, it also restricts us to improve our breathing. So your clients who are stuck in that kyphosis, you're going to say to them, you know, if you do this every day, your breathing is going to become easier. If you do this every day, your breathing is going to become easier. Okay, so that improves that as well. Right, and then we're having a look at what is the influence of the cervical spine. So it says there, the thoracic spine, glenohumeral joint, and the cervical spine are 3 peas in a pod. They work together. Whatever the neck is doing is going to affect the thoracic spine. But let's think about it logically, without trying to haul out all kinds of books. We've got to have written here somewhere something about an elastic band. If your head is popping forward, how heavy do you think your head is? Well, it's not exactly light. So when it's popping forward, the extensors that were meant to hold it up are constantly holding that head in a lengthened position. And that means at some point, if a muscle gives you a spasm or it starts aching, it's trying to tell you something. It's saying to you, listen, I don't like the position you're in either. I don't like the position you're in. Or I don't like the position you've put me in, which is long or too short. Or, and, why am I the only one affected here? Do you know why? Because all of my mates that are supposed to be working with me, you've never trained them, so they're not helping me. So whenever that's happening in the body, try and see that's why we look at chain reactions. Well, let's have a look at this person. When you look at somebody's back and it looks like there is no muscle tone, it probably means there isn't muscle tone, which means the muscles of the back are not holding the back up. When there is no tone in shoulders, it probably means that there is no strength in the shoulders either. And the same applies to your upper back. I remember taking a lady many years ago, who now lives in Greece, and she was exceptionally kyphotic, and she actually fell and broke 2 thoracic vertebrae, and they then did a fusion, but they fused her spine in that kyphosis. When she started training, I could literally take her thoracic back muscles and skin, and you know when a dog picks up their puppy, and you could pick the flesh up like that. So we worked incredibly hard, because now you must know she cannot do extension. She's stuck there. So we had to find ways to get her to just try and get some support in that back. And a lot of the work was closed chain work against solid surfaces. She improved so much that if this is now, let's say we're at, T7, and she activated rhomboid's middle traps, my fingers traveled up, whoop, because that skin and muscle just activated and it pulled up because it was actually sagging. So that shows you that we can create strength in that area, and spines that are taking strain here don't only need the flexibility, they also need that strength. So what is the flexibility of the pectorals? This is very important. It says there, it cannot be a given that a flexed thoracic spine has tight pecs. Here's why. If you saw me standing anywhere, maybe not always, but sometimes when I'm chilling, I might be in a slight kyphosis. And then you look at the posture and you're like, oh, you might have tight pecs. And then I go and I lie on the foam roller and I'm like, neck is in good alignment. I'm not poking my ribs, my arms are hanging past the Cadillac. And then you're like, okay, must be Pec Major. And then I go and you're like, okay, no, I'm not sure. I'm flawed, because that's not what any of the books say. So whenever we see a kyphotic posture, we have to test whether something is tight. Standing posture hardly tells us if anything is tight, okay? You actually have to get them moving. So this is Pec Major, and this is the one that I've seen improve incredibly in one of my family members. This is amazing. Within 3 weeks, it's gone from here to there. This is looking at that Pec Minor and just trying to get that scapula to scoop back and pull that through. Why is this important? If I can get this flexibility, it means that my neck has a better chance of going into good alignment. And when it has better chance of going into good alignment, my thoracic spine stands a better chance of staying in that neutral, good postural position. So that's why you're looking at the pecs. I've got them refer to the pelvic curl with the arms above the head as a reference, and I already did that for you. Where once you've done a pec stretch, so don't do this pelvic curl if you haven't done the pec stretch, because you want them to release in that pec. And how do you get pecs to become looser? Consistency. That's it. not anything else, just consistency. Just do the stretch, guys. Do it twice a day. You say to your clients, I need you to do it in the morning and the afternoon. Or I at least need you to do it every single afternoon, 7 days a week. And it's so relaxing. You just lie on a foam roller. So if you haven't stretched the pecs, you can imagine what's going to happen when they have to put their arms down here and roll up through their spine. So you want to, at least for that moment in the session, you want to be able to allow everything to relax. When you're doing any kind of stretching like that, say for example the pec stretch, don't let them force it. So especially this one, they're going to be lying like this. You want them to think of that scooping and pulling that hand behind the elbow, that pulling the elbow away, and then just relaxing there. And not going, oh, it's pulling so much. Just relax there. Allow it to release. Chat about something else. Watch one of your series while you're lying on your back. TV's over there. And just allowing it to release. So the pecs play a huge role in what's happening in the thoracic spine. And not only Pec Major like we think, but Pec Minor, because if it does this to the shoulder, you've got the ability to do that. The chances of you doing that is much bigger as well. Right, then it says there, what load are you using? So now we're looking at, now we need to strengthen it. And there's a couple of things that I love doing to strengthen the thoracic spine. And I'll start with this one first, because this is just that sort of low load, we're waking it up. And it's like that feeling where the client goes, oh, I've never really felt that. So you're actually going to rest on the ball with your pelvis, and you're resting over here like this. Your elbows are digging into the ball, and you're interlacing your fingers. Now your latissimus dorsi also assists with extension, so why not use it to help you? So here is the cue. You want your client to pull their pubic bone into the ball. How am I going to do that? You've got two choices, glutes or glutes and abs. We like glutes and abs, okay? So your elbows are over there. From there, you're going to press your elbows into the ball, and as you press your elbows into the ball, you're also going to push your pubic bone into the ball so that you're not sticking it out, because then I'm going to get lots of lumbar. So we're there. And then you're going to open your chest out. You can even have it higher up, pressing and opening the chest out. You could even have it like this, pressing and opening the chest out, because here you're going to get a bigger movement. So you can have them resting over. My hands are like that on the ball. And as they open out, they also push their hands into that ball to get that thoracic extension. And then allow them to lower down to release it so I can get that release. And then we come up and we press into the ball to get the extension, and then controlling it back down. So what are we doing now? We're teaching them, what does it feel like? When you do that thoracic extension, I'm going to give you an idea of what it's going to feel like. And then we're going to start working it. So now we think, okay, so we've mobilized it and everything. Now I need to get it stronger. And it says there, do you incorporate isometric and isotonic training? And that goes hand in hand with what load? Now, if you think about your posture, so we did an EMG test. It was really cool to see how much muscle activation is required from the thoracic spine and the abdominals to maintain a good posture. So we had EMG on rectus abdominis and thoracic. And all we did was stand upright and hold the pelvis in neutral. And that reading on that bar just went like insignificant. So us thinking we need to nail your thoracic spine to get it strong for your posture is not true. But we do want to get your thoracic upper back stronger for functional daily movements, and especially isometrically, statically, where you have to stay upright for an extended period of time. So I don't know how many of you, so this is a 4 kilograms, so that's about a 10 pound. I've learned that now. So feet are forward. This is obviously quite easy for your thoracic spine, but did you know that in this position, your thoracic back extensors are working? Why? This weight wants to take your spine and do this, but you are holding it up. If I take my torso, I'm just going to move my legs forward just for hip flexion, and I hinge forward, then my entire spine is working right now, okay? Now, I keep the weight here close to me, and I gently curve the spine over, and then bring it back up. But here's the thing, we've learned don't flex your spine like that with weights in your hands. But then how on earth are we going to strengthen it? So if you know you've got the mobility, you don't have spinal issues, you don't have any massive disc issues, but I've got one client who had a serious disc issue, and we've been working now for a year. I cannot even tell you how phenomenal his spine is. He did this yesterday, and he was like, geez, I would have never been able to do this 2 years ago. Right, so you're over here, hinging forward, gently curving, and bringing it up. That doesn't mean you go do it with disc issues, please. There was a whole process that we went through before we got to that point. And gently curving over and bringing it up. So there I'm training my thoracic spine, and here we challenge it more. Gently curving over and bringing it up. If they say, oh, my lower back, you come up, but you keep it there. Gently curving over and bringing it up. You can even have them holding this weight and doing leg work. So you just got to hold the weight. When you lift your arms up, they can go my deltoid, so drop the elbows down, but they've got to hold the weight. And then you're doing leg extensions, and you're doing maybe a bit of abdominals, and you're doing squeezes, and you're doing abduction, and you're doing all kinds of things here at the bottom, but they've got to keep holding this weight, because that's going to strengthen the thoracic back extensors isometrically in a postural position. And now you can start working it with weight. Working at low load and getting it up to higher load. I'm checking the time because I'm teaching just now. So we can take this ball, and I absolutely love this. And now here is their support. So how nice is that? So it shouldn't be hurting them if they're over here. So I always say to them, right, the closer the ball is to your pelvis, the more I'm going to get into lumbar. The further the ball is away from you, the more I'm going to get into your thoracic spine. So we're over there, and if I know that you're still going to do lumbar, then I bend your knees, and you rest over the ball. So this will be easy, and that will encourage that thoracic extension. This will be challenging, again, pulling the pelvis into the ball. This will be more challenging. This will be challenging with rotation, and then this will be challenging. Now, we are bringing strength into the mix. Now we're creating strength in the thoracic spine. We're not only mobilizing it, but we're actually starting to strengthen it. And this is how we are going to create exercise programs that promote longevity for our clients, and not just a program because you want to get stronger, and I'm actually not sure what our end goal is going to look like. We are wanting to train you to get stronger, maybe fitter, look amazing if that's one of your goals, but the end product is longevity. How many people train and get hurt? How many people are injuring themselves in their training? It makes no sense. If you're training smart, and you as the instructor are teaching the clients how to train smart, and you're going through this process with them, they'll be totally fine. Remembering that when we looked at all of this now, we were looking at shoulder and we were looking at neck. What is the flexibility of their neck? Whenever we do any shoulder stability with anybody, if I'm doing a shoulder stability program, I always look at the flexibility of the neck and the mobility and isometric strength of the thoracic spine, because that's going to tell me what is my first step going to be when I want to help them achieve better scapular stability. Well, we're thinking thoracic spine, but it all comes together. So let me see, what else does it say now? Right, it says there, the main objective here, so I'm on step 8. The main objective here is to strengthen the back for spinal health and functional movement. So this is this type of stuff. You've got lots of things you can use in the gym. The Pilates equipment is amazing when it comes to that kind of like back work, but you have to do it correctly. You have to understand the muscle recruitment pattern as you're actually doing the exercise, and how can you tweak it for this client, and what kind of mobility work would you do beforehand, before you even go into it. Right, posture requires isometric activation, so you would definitely want to bring that into your training. Incorporate slow isotonic training, and when you see that the form is good, then increase the speed, absolutely. For isometric training, increase the time that they hold it. That's how you know it's getting stronger. Remember that when it is challenging, then it is making a difference. And when it is free and relaxing, then it is making that difference. So that gives you a great idea of the thoracic spine. This is the type of stuff that I really needed. You'll see there's a link here. You can become a free member. Why? This is all we want to teach you. We want to teach you how to just do it so that you feel that you really love your career. And when you see your client moving, you're like, oh yes, I cannot wait to get my hands on your thoracic spine. That's how you must feel, because you're sort of putting all these puzzle pieces together. We have gone and asked my team to put the most amazing package together for you for anatomy. Taking all of this and looking at us teach it professionally filmed, the most incredible manual, the most incredible visuals, and a whole bunch of other extra stuff that you won't even believe that we've added in there, just so that we can help you reach your goal quicker, because we know we don't have time. So if you can learn this stuff in 12 hours, can you imagine that? I would be like, what? Some of us have studied years. How can she say that? If you can take all of this information and get so much info in 12 hours, based on 22 years, would you do it? Because I definitely would. So, without further ado, I'm going to leave you guys to have your wonderful Thursday and your wonderful weekend. You can ask us any questions if you want. You can pop us an email. You can message us in the private messenger. I see that's like, we're trying to keep up with everything over there. If you didn't receive the handout and you requested it, please ask us to send it again. Just send us a reminder. We have sent it to, I cannot even tell you how many hundreds of people. So sometimes an email comes back and we check it and we're like, but it's right, so we don't know why it didn't go through. So just double check with us if you haven't received it. Next week, we're doing another really amazing topic. Have you ever known, or do you know, how thoracic back extensors, doing something specific with them, can increase the effectiveness of quadricep training, specifically rectus femoris. Have a wonderful weekend. Take care.